Hello everyone. Thank you for watching the video. Wishing you all good health and peace. In the early morning, Dieu Han was still curled up on the sidewalk, holding her baby close as they slept against the cold wall of an abandoned building. Her eyes were sunken from lack of sleep, her body stiff after a night on the ground. As the sun began to rise, she gently stirred her baby awake, secured the child in the sling across her chest, and quietly set off again. Passing a hair salon, Dieu Han gathered her courage and stepped inside to ask for work. The woman behind the counter looked up, glanced at the baby, and quickly shook her head in refusal. Without arguing, Dieu Han simply nodded, thanked her, and walked away. Her feet kept moving, step after step, down dusty roads under the harsh sun. At a corner, something caught her eye: a wallet lying alone on the curb. She bent down, picked it up, and opened it to find a thick wad of cash and personal ID documents. Without hesitation, she noted the address and immediately began walking nearly 10 kilometers to return it. By noon, she knocked on the gate of a house with a tall black fence. A middle-aged woman opened the door, shocked to see her wallet in Dieu Han's hands. Overjoyed, she thanked her profusely and tried to offer her some money in return. But Dieu Han firmly declined. "I can't accept that. This money belongs to you." After leaving, Dieu Han stopped in front of a small roadside eatery. Her stomach ached with hunger and she nervously stepped inside to ask for work. The owner looked her over: worn clothes, a baby in a sling, and hesitated, but finally said, "All right. You can help clean the tables." She quickly placed her baby in a hammock in the corner, wiped her hands, and rolled up her sleeves. She wiped down tables, carried trays of rice, helped cook soup, washed vegetables, and scrubbed pots and pans. When customers arrived, she served them rice, poured tea, then cleared and washed their dishes afterward. The midday heat pressed down hard on the tin roof, sweat dripping from her face, but Dieu Han didn't stop. Every task she did was neat and careful. When the crowd thinned, the shop owner handed her a small payment and a box of rice with soup. "Eat and rest a bit." Dieu Han thanked her repeatedly, slung her baby back into the carrier, and left the shop. Finding a patch of shade by the roadside, she spread out an old shirt, gently laid her baby down, and opened the food box. Just as she lifted her spoon, she heard soft footsteps behind her. A young boy selling lottery tickets was staring at the box of food, his hand still gripping a worn-out stack of tickets. Dieu Han paused, looked at him for a moment, then held out the box. "Here, you eat." The boy shook his head shyly. "Take it. I've got some bread," she said softly. The boy accepted it with both hands, grateful and a little embarrassed, then sat down and began eating hungrily. Dieu Han reached into her cloth bag and pulled out a small piece of dry bread, broke off a corner, and slowly chewed. She leaned against the wall, eyes on her sleeping child, gently waving away the flies with one hand. The street buzzed with the noise of passing vehicles, but all she could feel was the gnawing hunger and the question of where to go next. The sun was scorching, but Dieu Han didn't allow herself to rest for long. She packed up, secured her baby in the sling again, and continued walking toward whatever lay ahead, hoping it might be a place to finally call home, though she still had no idea where that would be. Under the scorching midday sun, Dieu Han walked along the roadside, carrying her baby in her arms. Her eyes were vacant, each step heavy and dragging. Hunger and exhaustion made her hands tremble while her baby slept soundly in the sling across her chest. Suddenly, the screech of brakes rang out as a motorbike came to a stop. A middle-aged woman stepped off, stunned when she saw Dieu Han. "Oh, it's you. The girl from this morning. The one who returned my wallet." Startled, Dieu Han looked up and gave a small nod. The woman hurried over, concerned. "Oh my goodness, why are you walking in this heat? And carrying a baby, no less." With a choked voice, Dieu Han explained her situation, how her husband had beaten and kicked her out, how she had no home, no job, had spent all day asking for work only to be rejected, how she had slept on the sidewalk last night, worked briefly selling rice this morning, and gave away her meal to a young lottery seller. The woman looked at her, then at the baby, eyes filled with sympathy. She said nothing more, just turned back to her motorbike. "Come on. Get on. You're coming home with me. Don't wonder like this anymore." Dieu Han hesitated, then quietly nodded her thanks. She and her baby climbed onto the back of the bike, riding down tree-lined streets until they reached a neat house with a tiled roof. The woman rolled the bike into the yard and opened the door, inviting her inside. The house was cool and tidy, with polished wooden furniture gleaming in the light. Dieu Han sat gently, holding her baby close. The woman brought her a glass of water and said kindly, "Rest for a bit. I'll prepare lunch. My daughter left some clothes you can change into something cooler." Dieu Han stepped into a small room and changed into the clean clothes. Then she joined the woman in the kitchen to prepare lunch, boiling meat, washing vegetables, cooking soup. The meal was simple, but it filled the room with warmth. As she worked, Dieu Han blinked back tears. Around noon, the woman's husband came home. He was a local militia officer with a stern look. After hearing the story from his wife, he stayed quiet for a while, then said, "I'll go with you tomorrow. A man like that needs to be dealt with properly." After lunch, the woman cleaned up, and the officer held the baby for a bit, letting Dieu Han get some rest. That night, she lay in the small guest room on a warm bed. For the first time after many nights of wandering, she was finally able to sleep peacefully. Her baby slept beside her, and even the chirping of crickets outside felt soft and calming. At dawn the next morning, Dieu Han was up early, dressed and ready, waiting with her baby. The officer arrived with 2 other militia men on motorbikes. She got on and led them back to her bamboo hut. From afar, they could already hear the sounds of destruction. Her ex-husband, drunk and furious, was smashing the vegetable garden with a wooden stick, knocking over the water tank, flipping everything in the yard. Chickens flew in panic, plants were trampled. He cursed as he smashed things, eyes bloodshot, reeking of alcohol. "If I catch you, traitor, I'll kill you all." The 3 militia men rushed in and restrained him. He fought back wildly, but was quickly overpowered, handcuffed, and dragged to the vehicle. He screamed and cursed like a madman. Dieu Han stood at a distance, holding her child silently. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but they were no longer tears of helplessness. They were tears of release. The hut was in ruins, but it didn't matter. The garden could be replanted. The house could be rebuilt. What mattered was that the man who made her and her child live in fear was finally gone. The officer walked back and gently patted her shoulder. "You're safe now. No one's going to lay a finger on you or your child again." Dieu Han looked down at her baby and held them a little tighter. A new chapter awaited her, one filled with hope, kindness, and the chance for a better beginning. With the abusive husband taken away and the storm finally passing, Dieu Han returned to her humble hut, her baby in her arms. The kind woman stayed behind for a moment, gently asking about their situation. Seeing the broken planks, the crooked roof, and the shattered stove, her face filled with sympathy. She pulled out her wallet and pressed some money into Dieu Han's hand. "Take this and buy some rice. Your baby needs to eat." Tears welled in Dieu Han's eyes as she thanked her with quiet sincerity. After the woman left, Dieu Han went back inside. She picked up the unfinished pillow she'd been sewing, sat on the porch, and began stuffing it with handfuls of cotton. Her fingers flipped the fabric and stitched each seam neatly. She held the little pillow as if it were part of a new dream for her child. Once it was done, she brought her baby inside, mixed some formula, and gently spoon-fed each small mouthful. Full in content, the child soon drifted off to sleep, lying on their side atop the new pillow, fine hair resting softly on the freshly fluffed cotton. Not letting time slip away, Dieu Han got up and stepped into the small garden behind the house. She began repairing the kitchen. One by one, she gathered stones and wooden branches. She swept away the ashes of the old hearth and began laying the foundation for a new one. She sawed broken bamboo sticks and rebuilt the frame, hammering with one hand, steadying with the other, her eyes carefully adjusting every crooked piece. As the afternoon wore on, she slipped on gloves and went to the edge of the forest to gather dry firewood. Back at home, she lit the stove, rinsed rice, and set it on to cook. While the pot boiled, she walked out to the garden to pick a few sweet potato leaves and amaranth greens. She didn't have much left, but to her, boiled vegetables and plain rice now meant comfort and nourishment. She carefully picked and washed each leaf in a small basin. The fire crackled under the pot as the rice began to release its warm aroma. In the other pot, water came to a boil, and she dropped the greens in, covering it with a lid and adding more wood to keep the fire steady. Smoke curled upward, carrying with it the scent of something homey and safe. Sitting in the newly restored kitchen, Dieu Han stared at the flames, and for the first time in a long while, felt a little lighter. Life was still hard, still poor, but now this place was a home. Place where she could start again. Night fell. Dieu Han and her child sat on the porch, sharing a simple meal of white rice, boiled greens, and a small dish of sesame salt. The faint glow of the oil lamp cast soft light on her scratched face, still shining with quiet strength. She fed her baby tiny spoonfuls of rice, then slowly ate the vegetables herself. Crickets chirped in the garden, the breeze was cool, and the night sky calm and clear. It was her first real meal after days of running, after countless nights sleeping wherever she could. There were no fancy dishes, but it was the first dinner under her own roof, a place she could now call hers. But how long would peace last? What turns would this new life bring? Stay tuned for the next chapter in Dieu Han's journey.
Cuộc đời là một con đường dài, nơi giấc mơ hòa tan thực tại. Buồng bước chân ta bắt xây dần bức tranh vẽ lên thử thách lớn. Những nỗi đau niềm vui tạm bợ tạo nên muôn màu sắc cuộc đời. Dù cuộc sống đôi khi thử thách, những đam mê vẫn trực trào cháy. Hãy sống với đam mê cháy bỏng, đừng chờ đợi mà hãy thực hiện những khoảnh khắc quý giá lắm, đừng để thời gian trôi xa. Giữa bộn bề cuộc sống tìm chút bình yên, trong trái tim lặng lẽ nơi còn phiền. Giọt sương mai đọng trên lá xanh, đem lại niềm vui cuộc sống vắng tanh. Ánh sáng mặt trời dọi qua mây, dù mưa giông vẫn đang đong đầy. Trong lòng chứa đầy hy vọng, ngày mai sáng tươi chờ đợi ta. Bước đi trên con đường đầy hoa, dẫu khó khăn không lùi bước. Trong tim giữ trọn niềm tin, cuộc sống này mãi đẹp tươi.